Welcome to your favorite Tennessee Titans podcast, Tennessee Titans Weekly. Jacques,
Hulk,
Jacques,
Hulk.
what's up, folks? Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time it is your way. Here on Bleacher Report, what's good? What's happening? Jacques,
Yes, sir.
we got to talk about Brian Callahan, these new hires that we had as far as coaches, the draft. Bro, we got a lot to chop it up about, man.
Yes, sir. We do, man. Yes, you do. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another show that we do on a weekly basis. So it's good to be back, man. Like you said, it's a lot going on. Shriners Bowl, Senior Bowl practice this week.
Yep.
Good quotes from coaches, GMs, presidents, all the good old stuff. So,
That's true.
and we have the Super Bowl match that's locked,
Yep.
set, and match. So.
That's right.
Yep,
That's
football is
right.
here, man. Football is here.
It is, man. Shout out to Latoya P in the building. What's happening? What's good, Latoya? All right. So, Jacques, let's get cooking, man. Let's get cooking. All right. So, you and I both have had a great opportunity to listen to the interview that head coach Brian Callahan had just 2 days ago. So, I'd have a question for you about that as well. We're going to have the poll question out there as well. So, he's down there at the Shrine Bowl. He's looking at all the talent in those things. And so, after listening to the interview, for those who haven't checked it out, check it out. Shout out to A to Z Sports. It's on their platform there. They asked the question. So, what do you think about Callahan's interview in general, over the hour-long interview, as far as the drafting process? He even spoke about even like the nervous system and those things. Tell me, what do you think about his interview?
First of all, shout out to him because I think he's the one that has provided the most transparency. He's the one that I actually learned about the most. Rand was here, but we didn't know too much about Rand. Brinker is another one that we don't know too much about. Of course, Amy is Amy. So shout out to him for providing, and shout out to A to Z for that tremendous interview. But getting all those tidbits of what he looks for in a quarterback, where was his mistakes at when he was coaching this year, if he's gonna call plays. It was a lot of good things that he gave informational wise. Now, the thing I think, like you said, that stood out was what does he look for in a quarterback? And one thing that stood out was the nervous system, and how does someone perform under pressure when this plays break down? Are you poised? Are you calm? Are you slowing your thinking down, if that makes sense? And we know we didn't see that with Will Levis. When things broke down, his nervous system went out the door and he was just panic. So he kind of gives you a clue of what he's looking for with his particular quarterbacks, when he comes to scouting his quarterback. So we got two top quarterbacks, Shador and Cam, that actually seems to have that poise and that nervous system in check, to say the least. Not saying we're gonna draft him, but I'm just saying when you get a feel for that, you're like, okay, that's what he's looking for. All right, awesome. So that was different, if that makes sense, right? We usually call nervous system poise, but I like how he used that term nervous system because it all goes hand in hand when you're really peeling back the onion on it and you're talking about what you're looking for in a particular quarterback. So shout out to Callahan, man. Again, he's gotten a lot of criticism this season, the last season, because of the 3-14 or whatever record and questionable calls, but he's a first-year coach. So he gains brownie points with me from that interview because I learned a lot about him. What about you, Hulk? Oh, Hulk, you still with us?
Is my computer?
It was it
All
was
right.
it was freezing a little bit, but
Yeah,
you
I'm
good.
here. Yep.
You good. Okay.
Good deal. Good deal. So, facts, no paper on the interview with Brian Callahan. I actually thought his interview went very well as well. Tell me, that's a heck of a point you said, Jacques, about his interview. The fact that he was being very transparent. And he was just saying how much he is looking as far as this pick. They even asked him, do you know what you're going to do with the first pick? He said, absolutely. I know what we're going to do. So, it's for y'all to figure out, but we already know what we want to do. So, I really think, man, that listening to him, he sounded to reflect on some mistakes that he made. Even talking about if certain players he didn't really just realize how good they were. He was just saying, his first year, everything was just kind of speeding up, and he just feels like he has a better grasp of the team going into next year. So what I like the accountability of Brian Callahan in this interview, and he made it very clear, like, hey, we're all here down. We're down here, man. I'm telling Jacques. To me, you just said to me the biggest point of it all, in my opinion, is the fact that he understands. Like he's there. Is like, look, man, we trying to change this thing, dude. Like we here. We trying to get better. And he's being transparent. Where we had a lot of folks that didn't say anything. We didn't know where the direction was. Callahan spoke for a full hour and answered every question and didn't back down on any of those questions. He answered them. So I think the players that we're going to bring here, really based on his interview, are going to be guys that they really have evaluated. You know what I mean? Going to be in the Shrine Bowl, the Senior Bowl, the Combine, all those things. Callahan ain't missing nothing, man. And I think his whole team will be down there. So I really like what Callahan has done. Even if Callahan is watching, man, you get a lot of respect from me as well, too, based on the interview. And I really like what he's saying and somewhat the direction of the team going into next year, really just based on the things he was saying. I really – it's the best that I've felt about kind of what we're doing right now that I've felt in a while as far as our leadership. You know what I mean? I felt Callahan did an incredible job. So shout out to Brian Callahan of shooting it straight, letting us know the mistakes he's made, as well as what he's wanting to do in the future and what he's doing right now. Shout out to Brian Callahan, man.
Exactly. All right, we're gonna get in the next segment. So we to continue on interviews. Brinker did an interview also, and he discussed about generational talents, right? And he
Yeah.
said the Titans can't pass up on a generational talent, and looking for a generational talent, right? Given that the Titans got the number one draft pick and wants a generational talent, what does how do you define a generational talent? What's your definition of a generational talent?
Well, I would say this, Jacques. It's very rare to get the number one pick in the draft. It's very rare. And when you do get that, that should be your focus to get a generational talent, right, in the draft. And in particular, the best player in the draft. And if you have quarterback issues, the best quarterback in the draft. So, I think a generational talent is someone that transcends over time. That's good for many years. That's headed to the Hall of Fame. That's what a generational player is. When you think of, I'd say the most recent generational talent we had was Derrick Henry, right? But let me tell you about these generational talents. Derrick Henry was a second round pick. Patrick Mahomes was not picked number one in the draft. Tom Brady was a 6th round pick. It's a hit or miss. You have no idea who a generational talent is going into the draft. I do still feel this is a weak draft. So I think right now you need to draft whatever position you want. You better draft the best player in that position. So I think my definition of a generational talent is players that you can remember 10 to 15 years down the road. That's how much of an impact they make, as well as going to the Hall of Fame and those things. And, when you think of people talking about somebody getting stiff arm, the first person you think of is Derrick Henry, because that's the best running back in their generation. So the generation we're in now, we want to draft a guy that's going to transcend that. Normally, you want to draft a quarterback. It's as far as generational talent. I know a lot of people have Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter as far as possibly generational talents. And talent-wise, maybe they are the best in the draft. Maybe. But is that a position of need? You know what I'm saying? I don't think so. But I'm going to say that from a generational, my definition of what the Titans are trying to say is we need to bring a guy that's going to change this franchise. We've been a bad franchise now for the last 3 seasons. We have a whole new stadium coming up. The team is trying to improve. We need a face of this franchise, and that person is going to be the generational talent we'll have on this team for 10 years. We're nowhere near that. We have no generational talent on our football team. Hopefully we can draft a guy in the first pick and keep it moving, man. So that's my definition of what the Titans are trying to get for generational talent. What about you, Jacques?
So when I think of a generational talent, I just don't think about talent, if that makes sense. I think a generational talent is of course, longevity. You want the longevity. What your skill set, does it change the game, if that makes sense, right? And when I think of generational talent, just from in different fields, right? Sports, Michael Jordan was a generational talent. He changed the game of basketball, right? Serena Williams changed the game of tennis. Tom Brady, he changed the game from the quarterback position, right? Music, I'm going to go to music. Michael Jackson, Beyonce, K-Dot. Technology, man, you got Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, et cetera, right? Generational talent, how do you impact the culture, right? When that comes down to it, you're impacting the culture, not just from your talent perspective, but from your culture perspective. And when I look at this draft, when I hear generational talent, people are saying, oh, Dual Carter is a generational talent. No, he's not a generational talent because he's getting compared to Michael Parsons, right? If I'm comparing you to somebody, you're somebody, right? You're not generational, right? When you think about John Elway, when he was coming out of college, they considered him a generational talent, which it garnered to be true, right? But he was a first round pick, right? So when I think of that, that's my definition of what I'm looking for in a generational talent. Do we have that in this draft? No, we don't. In my opinion, we don't. Now, I could be totally wrong. Travis Hunter can be that. He's changed the game from a dual perspective, but at the same time, we've seen that with Deion. Deion Sanders was a generational talent. He was a dual player that can play both sides of the ball, and he played a whole different sport. So that's a generational talent, right? That is when I think of, and when I think of this draft, I think throwing that word around, I think I wouldn't have used that because I would have been like, okay, hey, we have talent in this draft that can really take us over to the next step that we feel like it can take us to the next level, right? But generationally, nah, bro. that's really you really speaking big wonders when you say generational talent. So that's my definition of when I'm looking and I hear generational talent. Those are some of the examples that I see when I see hear generational talent throughout my
Yeah,
lifetime that I've seen.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure, Jacques. Okay, cool. All right. So speaking of talent, as you all know, the Tennessee Titans have the number one pick in this draft. And right now, it's for the Titans to analyze and figure this out as far as talent. So, Jacques, we have the top of the second round as well, man. So when the second round comes around, we have the first pick in the second round. We haven't talked much about after the first pick, right? Second, third, fourth, fifth round. As time goes on, we'll talk more about that. We even have a mock draft that we do live on our show. So as of today, right now, Jacques, end of January 2025, your mind can change whenever. What position would you draft in the second round as of today?
So if I'm looking at the second round we can kind of get creative, right? People say trade the first round pick, but we remember I think we have the fourth pick in the second round, freaking pretty high. So there's a couple ways that I can go. I can trade out the pick, but if I'm drafting something, I want to shore up my offense. We focused on defense last year. I think we need to focus on offense this year. We need to get a nice right tackle, right? I heard this right tackle just bubbling in the senior ball right now. Or we go receiver, right? To add to if you do draft a quarterback. You want to build up this talent. So that's for me. I'm either going right tackle or receiver. Or if I feel funky, I want to trade it to get a third round pick. So that's my three possible possibilities that I would go. What about you, Hope?
So I'd say, man, for me, man, almost regardless of what we pick in the first round, I'm going wide receiver, man. I'm going wide receiver. I would say that, looking at wide receiver, man, we need a playmaker. And given that we're so much on the top of the second round, would be a great opportunity to get a guy that can come in here, make plays, could eventually be wide receiver one. I mean, think of players like AJ Brown, right? AJ Brown was an early pick in the second round. You can get great value a wide receiver in the second round. And in my opinion, there are not a lot of good receivers in this draft. So I say that to say that you might could get a good receiver, in the second round, and you might get one in the fourth round even too. So I like right tackle to your point. You're going to probably hear me say more about maybe signing a right tackle. If we draft one, cool. I'm good with that too because you're at least investing in your line on the right side because the right side is a problem. But I'm going to say for me, I'm going to say wide receiver, man, in the second round, regardless of what we draft. I'm saying second round, I'm targeting a wide receiver, man.
Got it.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
So we hear also talk about trade talks, right? Trade the number one pick. If that was to happen, say if the Titans did trade the number one pick, what would you do from an organizational standpoint?
If we did trade our first pick, and it's rumors are gonna come through because again, the Titans have control, right? We have a lot of holes on this team. We have a leverage. So it's possible. It's possible they might trade the pick. If we did trade the pick, I still wouldn't go down too much further than where we're at right now. I probably wouldn't go no further than 3. You know what I'm saying? I'd probably go no further than 3. But I would say if we did go down to 3, I would say if you're trying to pick a quarterback at the top of the draft at number 1 and we trade down 2 or 3 picks, we're going to need 2 more picks in this draft. We need a second round and a third round pick. So, I would say 3 for 1. If we're going to trade down, let's get 3 picks. Now, again, based upon who they might draft, We have no control over that. If Cam Ward gets taken up or any quarterback should do or anything, if any of those quarterbacks are not available when we are available, then you draft the best player available at that spot. Whether it be Travis Hunter, whether it be Abdul Carter, whoever's the best available at that spot, you draft them. But if I'm the Titans, I'm not going further than 3. I was like, okay, Raiders, Browns, like we could talk, but we're not going too much further than 3 because you got the number 1 pick in the draft and you have a lot of needs, quarterback being one of them, and right tackle. We have a lot of problems, bro. So if we trade, cool, but trade down 1 or 2 spots, get 2 extra picks. They could do that if they really wanted to, but I'm going to put the onus on Brian Callahan and Mike Barganzi. Evaluate these players. Evaluate the quarterbacks. If you feel that they're strong enough to be the number 1 pick, you hold on to them. If you have questions, leverage trades. But it's on them to evaluate these players. That's their job. So we'll see what's from there. So what about you, Jacques? What would you do if we end up trading the number 1 pick?
If that happens, like you said, I'm not going down. I'm not, because you're gonna miss out on talent, right? You do have the option of Travis Hunter or Duel, like you said. If that's the direction you feel like that's a need, and you feel like that you can't pass it up, do what you got to do. And I'm like you. If I'm gonna trade my first round pick, I'm getting the first round pick next year. I'm getting another second round pick this year. And I'm gonna get a third round pick this year, and I probably might even get a fourth. I need an overhaul. Like I need picks that I can't miss out on. Like seriously, if that's what you want to do. So it depends on the package that we get with it. But if we trade down, get the best player available, and that player has a lot of pressure on him too because you have to perform day one. There's no excuses, right? There's no excuses regardless. Whoever comes in with the number 1 pick or whatever we do, but there's no excuses. There's no time being patient. You got to come in humping day 1. So that's my thought.
All right. Okay. Cool. Okay. So Jacques, great points, man. And looking at the Titans right now, right now they are hiring different leadership. They just hired Reggie McKenzie, the former UT Vol, who's from Knoxville. They hired him from the Miami Dolphins. He's now a senior scout. He's been a GM in his past with the Raiders. You also have Ziegler, the guy that we brought as well here. He's from the Raiders. We brought him in as an assistant.
Coach Anderson actually being fired at this spot. So, Jacques, what are your thoughts on these guys, man? What is your general thought on of us signing these guys?
Oh, you sound like your mic's out when I check your mic. Well, my initial thoughts are do what you do. They're good hires, good moves. I just hope that the quote unquote collaboration comes. But yeah, they're good moves for now. But let's see what happens, right? I need to see what happens when it comes to drafting and bringing in free agents. I'm at this point now. Yeah, it's a great hire. They're cool, but I'm gonna wait. Like I'm in a wait and see type of mode right now. I'm in a vibe. Let me say that I'm in a wait and see vibe. Let's see what you can do. Yes, a good hire, but that's cool, right? I like what they're doing now. They're attacking it. They're all attacking it at once by showing progress by all going to the Senior Bowl together. They sound like they're communicating together. They're talking together. But at the end of the day, who really got the power? Who got the decision? So it seems like when you hire these folks, good special teams hire, do like that. McKenzie's coming in as a scout. That's all he is. He's the head scout. He's coming in to be a head scout. Ziegler is sort of the same thing. He's like he's under the GM, but they've really brought them in to scout, just be super scouts, if that makes sense. So show me what you can do, then I'll praise you at the end. But right now, I'm just in a wait and see type vibe. Good hires, but I mean, we'll see. What about you, all?
Yeah. You can hear me now, right? I accidentally kicked the cord like one of the things, but yeah, cool. So to your point, John, I think, man, I think these are very good moves. It shows me that the Titans are looking to change the culture, to change, when you look at, when you look at these guys as well too, McKenzie has had success in his past. But the last year or so with the Dolphins and also with the Raiders, Dave Ziegler, the Raiders, there has not been a lot of success with these organizations that they're coming from. Doesn't mean they're going to be bad or good or whatever. We'll see. So I am in a waiting see with everything. Again, I still have trust issues right now with the leadership. It's going to take a while for that to be built up and everything to sort of build some consistency. Because again, every year we've had change every year. And sometimes in order for you to build, you got to keep putting up the bricks. You got to keep putting cement on bricks. And if you keep taking it off, you're not going to build anything. So I want to see over a particular time how well they do. To your point with McKenzie, he's a senior scout. You know, he's been in a GM role. So I would think with that experience, that should help, right? But, you know, again, they are trying. We're trying to get folks here. Colt Anderson, you know, being fired, I think that was a very good move. I think that I'm probably more excited about the three. I'm probably more excited about, you know, bringing in Fossil as a special teams coach because our special teams was one of the worst in the league last year, right? Bottom 2 in the league last year. Our special teams probably cost us 3 games last year, easily, probably 4. So I do like that. I'm hoping to see progress from there. So I feel good about the moves,
Right.
but I'm still like looking behind the curtain, like,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We'll see.
I think that's where I'm not getting fooled again. Titans fans, y'all can get fooled, but I'm not getting fooled. I'm literally in a wait and see type vibe. Like you said, they're good moves. These are moves that, like you said, they shows experience. They all have experience, which is cool, which is a plus. But you've done this before. Show me. Stop telling me. Show me. Right. So.
Right. That's right. That's right. That's facts. That's facts, man. That's facts. So yeah. So y'all, we are at our favorite part of the show, the live chop up. If you're watching us outside of Bleacher Report, it won't show live, but you know, it does show his own Bleacher Report. So if you have questions, throw those questions out there. We'll put them on the screen, man, and we'll fire them off, Jock. You know how we do, bro.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And yeah, they did bring in Scott Callahan. They did to the front office. So
that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Good call, Titans life.
Yeah, again, they're trying, but do I care? Yeah, I care. I do. I just hope it pans out. I do got a question, Hulk. How do you feel about Shador at the Shriners Bowl? The impression that he put on the Titans. How much stock do you buy into that?
Well, I tell you this, man. I know he's not. From my understanding, he's not playing in the game. That's my understanding. Okay. So, and I know there's been other players who have not played in the game. Even last year, Jaden Daniels didn't play. I think Michael Penny, several players didn't play last year in the Shrine Bowl. So I do like the interviewing piece from what I've heard from Brian Callahan, also Branganzi, that Shador is very, you know, he's an intellect. He's smart. He understands football. He has a great attitude and those things. So I think that part of it is great based on what they're saying. I'm not hearing anything negative coming from them meeting with Shador Sanders, right? Shador is a high class guy, man. You know, he's dude has it up here for sure. He's mentally tough, and even on the football field, the one thing I like about Shador probably more than anybody in the draft, man, this guy's tough, man. He will hang in there, throw the ball with accuracy, and get knocked on his tail, and he gets up like nothing happened. So I do like that. I will tell you, I would like to see him in the Shrine Bowl. I really wish I'd like to see him. When we speak of Jaden Daniels was pick number 2. So, you know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like people missed out on, you know, some certain players, you know, they didn't really have to. They already was sort of proving themselves. So if you're trying to get the number 1 spot and there are legitimate concerns and questions like to why they shouldn't, and it's like you could prove them wrong on it. And again, I'm not a general manager. I'm not an agent. So that might be a business move that's like, nah, don't do that. You know, you don't want to embarrass. You know, I don't want you to make mistakes and hurt your draft stuff. Sometimes not doing something helps you. Sometimes not showing yourself like you could help you, right? But the last thing that people remember, as most people say in life, people remember the last thing you did. And you looked at the BYU game, Shador struggled. He struggled. You know what I'm saying? He played a bad game. So I would like to have seen him play in the bowl. Now he might, maybe the Senior Bowl, he might. We'll see. But I'm saying for the Shrine Bowl, I wish he could play.
Senior Bowl, he's not. He can't do the Senior Bowl because they're simultaneously going on almost at the same time. So he can't do the Senior Bowl. I'm with you on that. I would have loved to see him play because I wanted to see him with other, and he got some of his Colorado brother in there too. So that's another thing. I'm like, okay, he's got his brothers there with him. But it was a article that came out that said some of the Titans and Giants said they told him not to play in the game or something. I don't know how true that is, But
Yep.
I mean, again, like when I hear Callahan and them talk about him, I'm like, man, he's got it, he's got it. So, but I'm like you, I thought he was going to play in the game because that'll help you stop even more. That'll shut the haters up and the doubters up,
Yep.
and it'll address some concerns. Like, hey, how do you play with a better offensive line? How do you play with different receivers? How's your time with
That's
this?
right.
How are you coached besides being with your dad, right? Because your dad's been your coach your whole life, and I don't have any doubt that he can transition because he's done a good job. So I think from a scouting perspective, if I'm looking at the two, I see what you do in the bowl game, but I'm also looking at your tape. I value tape over combine and these little all-star games any day because yeah, you could put that's what got Dak Prescott drafted was the Senior Bowl, right? He's
Hmm.
done his thing. Now that's Dak Prescott, in my opinion, has kind of stalled out. It's like he stalled out a little bit. But when I'm looking at it, I'm like to help you. I would have liked to see you play, but I get it. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to get hurt. You want to get ready, prepared, and he might do the combine, which I don't know if that's confirmed yet. But if he does a combine, kudos to him. So
Yeah. 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 For sure. For sure. So, Ja, I have a question for you.
yes, sir.
So, say we don't draft a quarterback. It's possible we might not draft one.
Right.
And they might look for next year, and more than anything, maybe in 2025, they might look to sign, a free agent quarterback and draft like Abdul Carter or somebody in the first round, Travis Hunter or whatever. I keep hearing say Jared on his show about he keeps talking about Sam Darnold. That's not even a guarantee, right?
Right.
There's no free agent that's a guarantee. The one thing we have guaranteed, we have the number one pick, but there's nothing guaranteed, nor is it guaranteed for a player to come here and do something. But
Right.
there's enough people, even in our poll, there's enough people that would say not to draft a quarterback this year, get a free agent, see how he does for a year or two, then draft next year. How do you feel to say if that doesn't happen? What are your thoughts on that?
In my opinion, I feel like we've been down that road before. We've been down that road with Tannehill. Say if you do go out and get a Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold doesn't have the same weapons that he has in Minnesota, right? Which Sam Darnold are we getting? Are we getting the Minnesota Sam Darnold or are we getting the Jets Sam Darnold when he didn't really have too many weapons? So you have a chance to change your trajectory of your franchise, not just from the play style or getting the team up, but from just the whole conversation. Because if you do draft for Shador Sanders, you're the talk of the town. Like your franchise, the Titans fans complain about not being in the main media and get talked about. Well, that'll allow you to get talked about. But if you drafted a dual Carter, I'll give you an example. Dual Carter or Travis Hunter gets drafted, right? Say if we do that. Myles Garrett has Cleveland Browns went to the Super Bowl and playoffs. They went to the playoffs, but Super Bowl no. Pittsburgh Steelers, J.J. Watt, he's the
Yeah,
top
TJ
defensive
Watt.
player. T.J. Watt is the top
Yep.
defensive player of the year. No,
Yep.
J just happened to J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt got drafted by the Texans.
Absolutely.
What value? So at the end of the day, when I look at examples like that, I'm like, they're not going to get you where you need to go. Unfortunately, sorry, right?
Yep.
So when I look at it, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Bring them in. They're tight, but I feel like you're not guaranteed to pick in the top 10 next year if you do get a bridge quarterback. And
Yep.
every Titans fan has a favorite, right? I've seen Arch, I've seen Nico, I've seen this. So when you get, well, we need to trade up and get this. Yeah, you might have the capital, but we'll have to give the house to go up there and get them, right? And
Yep.
there's no guarantee that they'll turn out like that. So that's my opinion on it. What about you?
Yeah, man. So we've talked, for those that have been watching our show for years, man, you've heard us talk a lot about quarterback sacks. They are important, but they're not as important as getting it right at quarterback. There's been many teams who've had the best defensive end and outside linebacker sack guy in the league, and they don't get to the Super Bowl. They don't even make the playoffs. Yes, it does help your defense. But you look at the Chiefs, they don't have a superior pass rusher. And they about to win possibly their third Super Bowl in a row, right? They got an interior defensive lineman that's unbelievable, and they got a hell of a defensive coordinator, maybe the best in the history of the game. But you look at the Eagles, most of their good defensive players are in the middle. They got a few outside guys, but no one that you can think of like he's a premier pass rusher. You don't have to have a superior pass rusher to win in this league. You don't. So, if we get if that happens, then okay, well, if we get a quarterback, to your point, it's not a guarantee in 2026. If we don't win a lot of football games, then we'll get a top quarterback. We have an opportunity now. To me, again, the key is it's on Barganzi and it's on Callahan. In scouting Cam Ward and scouting Shador Sanders or any quarterback, are they good enough to be the first pick in the draft? Because that says a lot, to be the number one pick in the draft. If they are good enough, you feel that you can do something with them, you draft them.
Draft. The only way that would work if Will Levis would have turned out and showed progress, if it was still trash, then I would say do that. But right now, you have a quarterback problem that you need to fix. And there's not a lot of good quarterbacks that are coming out in free agency either that I believe that can do anything in my opinion. So
Yep. So all right, we'll go one question and then let's see we got any. Let's see.
And if we do draft a dual Carter better have 15 to 20 sacks to make up for that. And I know that's a heavy feat on him, but we drafted you the first #1 overall pick to come in and show out, right? And if that happens and he doesn't get to that feat, then that's a big bust in my opinion. So that's something. And I think he just started playing on the line. I think he was purely a linebacker.
He was a linebacker.
Yeah,
this is his first year playing on the. Dude is an athlete. He's cold now, but he's been playing. Yeah, he can. That's what makes him really an interesting prospect because he can play inside and on the outside. You know what I mean? But he don't have a lot of experience on the outside for sure.
Exactly. So
yeah, man. So well, cool. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we want to say thank you all. Shout out to Titan for Life 99, man. Shout out to Latoya P as well. We want to say thank you all, for watching the show. Shout out to Bleacher Report as well, man. Listen, if you have not followed us yet here on Bleacher Report, follow me at Lorenzo_the Hawk. Follow Jacques at Jacques Merrill. We're on YouTube at Tennessee Titans Weekly. We're on Twitter at Titans Weekly 24/7. We're on Instagram at Tennessee Titans Weekly. We're on Apple. We're on Spotify. We are in those internet streets, Jacques.
Yes, sir. Again, thank y'all for participating in the show, man. We appreciate y'all, Weekly family. Thank you, Bleacher Report, for giving us this opportunity, man. And we got some more exciting shows coming. And then we got a nice little schedule, the off-season schedule. We got the Shriners Bowl, which I'll probably check that out. And then I'll check out the Senior Bowl. I think it's played next week or whenever it's played. So let's get to it, Hawk, man. Take us home, brother. And y'all enjoy your night.
Absolutely, man. Well, listen, as we always say, and as we always do, facts!
No paper!